Welcome to LaQuita's Toolbox, where we deliver relevant content in the form of tools that empower entrepreneurs to elevate personally and professionally. Good is only good until greater is envisioned. You know there's another level in you. Here we discuss the tools to get you there. Lean in as LaQuita and her guests present you with strategies and insight for unlocking your full potential to realize your boldest dream. Welcome back to another amazing episode of LaQuita's Toolbox. I am your host, LaQuita Monley, and I am super excited to be in the studio today. I have some very amazing guests with me today. I have the pleasure of being able to interview the upgraders. That's right, the upgraders, Dexter and Dr. Tonya Scott. I know you guys are excited, and my regular Toolbox guests, you know the drill. Get something to write with and to write on, because you do not want to miss the tools that they will be blessing us with on today. But before we bring up the upgraders, let me take a moment to thank our sponsors at Covenant Press. Covenant Press is a faith-based Christian apparel and accessory shop where we as believers can shop online for clothing and accessories that allow us to wear the message of the love of Jesus Christ. Go out to www.covenant-press.com. Again, that's www.covenant-press.com. Now, don't click off those pop-ups too quickly, because they contain valuable discount codes that you can implement at checkout to receive savings from Covenant Press. Again, that's www.covenant-press.com. Hello. The upgraders. How are you guys doing today? Dexter and Dr. Tonya, how are y'all today?
Dr. LaQuita, we are doing well.
Doing great.
We are great.
Wonderful. Listen, I am excited about having you guys in the studio on today. We've had some great chats and loved meeting with you guys when we were all together in Dallas last year in October, recording for season 2 of Becoming the Millionaire Power Couple with Dr.
Yes.
Sakisha and Eric Heilich. And so I said, I knew I needed to have you guys on to drop some gems, and we got you in the house today. So welcome.
Awesome.
But please, guys, take a moment, if you will, and let the few people who may not know who the upgraders are, let them know who you are and some of the amazing things that you guys are doing right now.
Oh my! You want to take your time?
I'm listening to you.
I don't know.
Go ahead on.
So Dr. LaQuita, Tonya and I, we just celebrated 22 years of marriage last week. So,
Yes.
you know, what's so amazing is just we've been at this so long. But Dexter and Dr. Tonya, we are North Carolinians, born and raised, and are still here, by the way. We hadn't gone anywhere else, but we run a personal and professional development company called The Upgraders. And we just specialize in emotional intelligence, mindset development, and influencing styles. And we absolutely love the teaching and training that comes from when we get in front of audiences, whether it's big or small. We love that transfer of learning that takes place. We're also authors. We're also public speakers. We've just done a lot over these 22 years, and it's just been exciting. It really has. I mean, I love working beside this beautiful young lady right here, and it's been great. We have 4 amazing children. We have 2 amazing granddaughters and 1 grandson that's on the way this year. So we're just excited about life right now. So yeah, it's just a touch about us. You want to add anything to that, Tonya?
I think you did. I think you did an awesome job.
Okay.
I will say, even as my husband was just talking about some of the things that we do, we help people in a nutshell to get out of their own way, So there are a lot of people who oftentimes I know that there's more. There's things that I desire to do, but I don't quite know how to get started. Or when I do try to get started, why are there so many stumbling blocks? Mm-hmm. So we tackle those types of things, and we actually help people get started in life with those types of things that they're looking for. Pretty much typically on the side of business. You know, they know there's more, there are different goals that they have ambitions, you know, those types of things. So we're like, we want to see you upgraded. So come join forces with the upgraders and we'll help you do that.
Listen, I love that. I absolutely love that. As you guys were talking about the things that you do and how you bless people and add value to the lives of those that are connected to you, I think I thought about 5 other podcast episodes that we can do, but that's just how my brain works. But you know, we definitely want to congratulate you and thank you guys for all that you are doing and say happy anniversary.
Thank you.
That's a beautiful thing, you know. Not often enough do we get to celebrate the beauty of marriage and what God intends for it to be. And I'll say this even more so: we rarely get it. A really good picture of what it's like to have a Christ-centered marriage, and you guys are doing a phenomenal work in that. And so, thank you so much for all that you're doing. And we're gonna pull some plugs out of you today. We're gonna get some tools, you know.
We're ready.
The toolbox, the toolbox is all about providing implementable tools that our listeners can use to grow both personally and professionally. And the majority of our listener base are entrepreneurs, or they are in transition to becoming entrepreneurs. But the other thing that they are married. And I don't know about you guys, but when Ben and I were dreaming about becoming entrepreneurs, we dreamed that we saw the stuff that people see on social media. Nobody tapped us on the shoulder. We didn't get the tap, you know. We didn't, even from our friends that were already running their own businesses, we didn't get the tap to say, hey, there's a few things you need to know. There's a few things you need to be aware of, good and bad. And so that's what I like us to talk about today. You know, what is it like building a brand with your spouse? You know, what are some things that you guys can bless the audience with to say, hey, you may want to keep this in the back of your mind. You may want to prepare for these things, right?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I don't know. It's kind of a laundry list of things, but I'll say that Tonya and I early on, because we're both speakers, which is very interesting. When we got married, Tonya was already a trainer for the county in which we live, and I got a chance to watch her speak in front of the room, and I was just like, wow, I was, amazed watching my wife do it, and I did it also in my job. So it's interesting watching that dynamic take place. We had to learn our strengths and weaknesses in the areas of when is it best for Tonya to take the lead? When is it best for me to take the lead? And we came up with this kind of yin and yang kind of thing. We actually called it the seesaw effect. So when Tonya's up, I'm down, in the sense of she takes the forward position, I take the rear position. And we learned that dance over the years. And it's worked so much so that when we're speaking, whether it's to a small group or we're on stage or something, it's almost like when Tonya's talking, my mind is ringing with the next thing to add to what she's saying. And then it just bounces back and forth. Absolutely. And it works very well together. It took some time for us to get to that rhythm, but with both of us being communicators, it just gelled really good together. So I would say learn, spouses that work together, learn the strengths, the weaknesses. And it's really not weaknesses, but it's when when Tonya recognizes who needs to take the lead in front of a certain audience, or when we're communicating something, the other one should just naturally fall behind and let their spouse take the lead, because it's going to be, you're swinging with a larger hammer, so to speak, in that situation.
More precision.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It makes perfect sense. The seesaw effect. My husband kind of just talked about it as it relates to speaking, but it relates to every aspect. So even with your question, Dr. LaQuita, it's like, okay, Dexter has done so much better with us when it comes down to terminology. And no, technology is what I'm trying to say. With technology.
Yeah.
So I don't touch that. I let him do that.
Yeah.
And I just sit quietly and I wait. That's also the strength right there. Okay.
Right.
For Dexter as well. We have so much that we have to do. Here we are, we're married, we're entrepreneurs, we're in business together, but we're also husband and wife, and we're also mom and dad.
Right.
And then we have other things that's going on in our lives, and it's like a matter of, who needs to take the lead in that particular area. So I'll give this even as an example. We're in the middle of some things actually going on right now, and we're really excited about it. Okay. We're looking forward to the outcome. We even sent a text message to our children to say to them, we've got some new things happening. So we're going to need your support.
Yes.
We're going to need you guys to support us, because our time is going to have to shift just a little bit, and we won't be available in the ways that we have been for the last several months, several years. And they came into agreement with us. So that's one thing. Now, as we're beginning to move forward for he and I, today, I found myself on a call while he took time doing something else that he needed to bring closure to. So I stepped in and represented both of us in that moment, where typically we're both together. So it's those types of seesaw effects that we have to do throughout, our life, our marriage, with just everything that we actually are building here as the upgraders. And we're mindful of that.
Yeah.
And a key thing that Dexter mentioned is us being communicators. So Dr. LaQuita, when we have issues, if you will, that's coming up, Dexter and I have come to an agreement.
Yeah.
We've agreed to talk, and we've agreed to listen.
That's good.
We've agreed. I want to be, and let me tell you how the first time we had to let it happen is when there's nothing wrong. So I had to let's talk about when there is. When there's another time. It is not easy to try to come to a place of understanding each other for future circumstances in the heat of a moment.
It is.
But when everything was fine and you land there, we like Andy Griffin, we love Hallmark, but at night when we just in the bed, you're chilling, it's downtime and you're talking, maybe it's over dinner. We like to go for a walk. Maybe it's a walk. We're talking. And those are the times where we can just kind of share when there's nothing wrong, when there is no issue. But we came into agreement to say, let's allow each other the opportunity to share how we feel. Let's talk about the things that may be of concern to us or that's bothering us, but also let's agree that we'll hear each other out. Let's listen. And we've actually done that as well. So that's been really effective for us. Yeah. I know you mentioned talking to our oldest daughter the other day and just kind of sharing, and you actually shared something with her. You said you don't do it anymore.
Oh, it was, I used to. So I don't know if this is a man thing or not, but we get quiet.
Let's see.
Yeah. So men get quiet. I mean, that's just what we do. But
true.
We will be quick to say, I don't want to talk about it. Or we might leave the room because we just don't want to talk about it. I mean, I found it to be a safe zone for me. To just protect myself going into certain things or whatever it is. But I've learned that just hang around and listen and actually engage in the conversation. And it helped our marriage much more when I just stopped, getting quiet and walking out.
Where are you going?
Yes, why are you going? We cannot have this conversation while your head is under the hood of the car. Okay. This is not happening. Listen, you guys just blessed a whole lot of people right there. Like we could pull out about 10 nuggets even from there. So LaQuita's Toolbox listeners, I hope that you have been writing, but that's okay. Even if you haven't, because I understand that conversation was really good. This is a podcast. So hit the replay on the podcast, go back, take some copious notes, and then hit play again. And so the podcast can continue to move forward. If this is your first time joining us on the LaQuita's Toolbox podcast, hit that like button and download LaQuita's Toolbox on your favorite podcast listening platform, and also leave us a comment so that I can know what you are looking forward to and what tools that you need to help you to improve in your personal growth and development, as well as your entrepreneurial growth and development. Now, you guys were laying down some really good things, because we agreed to talk and we agreed to listen. That's an easy sentence to say, but my God. That is a chore to do. Like, you know, as you were saying, Dexter, men have a tendency to get quiet and just not want to, like, I don't want to talk about this right now, so I'm not even going to listen to this right now. Whereas we as women, we have the tendency, and if I can say that now, ladies, y'all get in the comments in this podcast and let me know if you agree with me or not. We have a tendency in those times to, when people are talking, if we are having a conversation with our spouse, instead of listening to seek understanding from them, we have a tendency to mount a defense. Like, we've got about 5 arguments going for you. Like, we are at the ready. Why this ain't gonna work. Your opinion is invalid.
Yes.
You know, so if you guys could help us out with that a little bit, you know, because what you're saying, talking and listening, those skills are part of active listening and effective communication. How can entrepreneurial couples begin to get that that maturity in that area of, you know, being an active listener, having emotional intelligence, and understanding why learning effective communication will build their marriage, which will in turn be a great tool used to build their business?
Wow, that's loaded. Very good question. You know, Tonya and I, you mentioned emotional intelligence. So one of the things that we do is, you know, we do this in corporations, churches, agencies. Doesn't matter. They bring us in to do influence and styles and emotional intelligence training, and it just it goes right over to our marriages. What's so interesting is we just recently did emotional intelligence training with the corporation, and we were able to get this everybody from the CEO to the secretary to the clinical staff to really begin to understand what you're seeing versus what you're hearing versus how that person communicates versus how you communicate. All of that plays into a situation. Like Tonya and I, we know each other's communication style. That's important. So couples need to know what their spouse's communication style is, right? So Tonya is more of a relator thinker. I'm a socializer thinker, right? And I can get into the director, and this is all the stuff that we teach, but we understand one another. So, and it goes right into what's interesting, Dr. LaQuita, is what we just talked about, men getting quiet. Now, if a man is a thinker, which I am, it kind of socializer thinker kind of balances itself off sometimes. And each situation is different. But if Tonya asks me something, or if I feel a certain way, I may have to internalize what she's saying because my thinker is going. And you can't.
That's me big time.
You can't rush the thinker.
Yeah.
Right. And so with Tonya, for example, it happens all the time. She's on her phone. I'm on my phone. Now, we are currently sitting in our kitchen family room behind us, but we have an office that we just get tired of sitting in all the time. So Tanya's here at the island working. I'm over there in the breakfast nook working. So sometimes I'll say something to Tonya and she won't say anything. And I'm like, I'll say something and she won't say anything. And times past, I would get frustrated because I'm like, you're not listening.
Yeah.
But one thing I had to do was say, and this is really important, I would say, Tonya, can you have a conversation with me after you're done with what you're doing? I had to give that.
That's good.
Because that actually it helped me break my need to hear from her right away. And it also gave her room to finish what she was doing before I'm just hopping in needing something to be answered like right away. Right? It says what?
Come on, somebody should hit your cash app right now, Dexter, because you just blessed a lot of marriages. Let me tell you, it's some wives that listening. It's gonna take this podcast and say, honey, just hit this section right here. We at timestamp 1923. Listen to that part.
I love it. Yeah. I'm gonna say this too, and even as I'm listening, I'm like, we have to know. We all know this. Marriage is work. We hear it all the time. Yes. It is. It's work. You love, you fall in love, but and even when we go into Corinthians, looking in 1 Corinthians 13, he gives us a description of what love is. Yes. And love has nothing to do with a feeling. No. It has everything to do with behavior, with action. It's giving people the benefit of the doubt. It's, not what we were just even describing there, where you do not keep record of wrong. That's love. Yeah. So it's a matter of really coming to a place of understanding this. And when you do, you behave as such. So I'll say this. All of us stood at the altar and said, I will. You will what? That's action. Yes. That's love. That's the work that we all do and have to do in building a strong marriage. Yes. And, to be together as husband and wife, as entrepreneurs working side by side, all of these things is what's factored in for us in building and having the strength that we have to build, the businesses, our children, our families, our visions, the dreams, everything this is what has made it happen. And the other thing I was thinking about, and we talk about this too, it's called a shared pool of meaning. So that shared pool, there's always a commonality that everybody has. There's something that we both want out of this. Mm-hmm. What is that? Because oftentimes that's what we're both going after. It's just that how we're communicating or what it is that we're saying to arrive to that point, it may be getting all mixed up, I'll say, especially if all I'm trying to do is be heard and not hear. So I have something to share. He has something to share. And it all goes in while we determine, what's going to be the best thing for us for the end result that we're both desiring. So that shared pool of meaning is necessary. I need to understand where my husband is coming from. He needs to understand me. Does it mean that everybody will always get what they want? No. Right, but when we listen, it's just a matter of like, okay, I see what you're saying and that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And I want to say this too, I am a woman, he's the head. So if it comes down to it, he listens a lot. I mean, there are things, again, when we talked about our strengths, if I'm strong in a particular area, he'll say, what do you think? And it's like, we'll go with that a lot of times. But bottom line is, if my husband is thinking this is what he's actually said to me, he mentioned earlier, I'm more of a relator. I am. So I'll lead sometimes with the heart, or it's about how I feel. And he said to me recently, he just stopped. And this is the thing, because he was like, I need you to listen. So when I know he really wants me to stop and listen, he touched me. and then he just looked and he said, and he was like, he made sure I was looking at him. Okay. And then he says to me, I need you to let me make that decision. I need you to listen, Tonya, to what I'm saying. He said, because my discernment, he said, I'm protective of you. And he was like, and I know you sometimes want to do this and you want to do that and you want to help and you want to that. He said, but I need you to really allow me to make those decisions moving
That's
forward.
Real good.
Okay? And I said, okay. I heard him. And I said, okay, I will. And that was it.
Let me tell you, I know y'all been blessing these married people all day today. And the single ones who seem to be confused about what marriage is and what it is not. But that was really powerful right there, Dr. Tonya. If we could just rest there for just a minute, because it's really, 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 really important what you just said. Because a lot of women, we do lead with our heart. Even those of us that are analytical. At the end of the day, we cannot defeat our God-given character. We can't defeat how God created us and what's in us. And as women, we tend to lead like that. And it's really good to hear you say that. Dexter said, hey, let me make this decision. And you didn't take that out of pocket.
No, I didn't.
You didn't take that out of
I
pocket.
I didn't push back at all, did I?
Right. Like it wasn't this, it didn't come to these combative things like, a lot of the stupid stuff that we're hearing now about relationships and what, women can do versus what men can do. And it was like, you know what? I trust and believe that the man that I've been married to for 20 plus years has my best interests at heart. So if he's seeing something that I'm not seeing, let me go ahead and let him rock with that and trust him. And that's what I hear when you say that, like the level of trust that you guys have built up over the years. You didn't see that as an attack on your ability to step into your grown woman and make a decision for yourself at all. Like that is not what that was. That was really what it was. My husband saw something I didn't see.
Come on.
Yeah.
Look, and I'm like, what did God say? God says, as a church, we're his bride.
Right.
And he's our protector.
Right.
And he told the husband, he says, this is your bride. You're going to love her as I love you. Yes. It's like, that's how you love her. You love her like you love yourself. This is what you do. He's my protector, you know? So you said it as well, Dr. LaQuita. It's a matter of us stepping into our roles and allowing it. I mean, can you imagine, I'm thinking about my shears. You know how your shears you use to cut meat and everything? Yeah. And you can take them apart. But there's only one way to put them together for them to work.
Correct.
It's the same with us in our marriage. It's a way for it to work.
Yes.
So it's really necessary for us each to walk in our roles. I mean, it can't get any better than that. It's really a beautiful thing. It's really a beautiful thing, and that's how it works. So I'm really grateful.
Yes. When we walk in our God-given roles as husbands and wives, not only does it build healthy marriages, but even it goes back to something you guys said in the very beginning. Because you understand who God created you to be, and Dexter, because you understand who God created you to be, it is so, and you're solid in that identity. I know who I am. It is so easy for you to, in the appropriate times, if it's an area where Dr. Tonya needs to run with it, Dexter doesn't get offended by that. And if it's an area where Dr. Tonya needs to run with it, vice versa. Who needs to run? Right. There's no compromise. It doesn't come to a thing where it feels like anybody is attacking anybody's leadership role, my authority, who I am. Like that's a moot point when I know who God created me to be. And I understand my role as wife. I understand my role as husband. And we can bring that into our businesses and it will work just as good because I understand who I am and I know my lane. And, Ben knows his lane. That is a beautiful thing. I'm really, really glad that you guys shared that in that way, because it's a question that we get asked often, or I get, feedback from is, well, how do you know when you're building the brand or building the company? Well, who should be the CEO? Who should be the COO? Or who should be the face of the company? Who should be this and who should be that? Especially within the context of Christian marriages. And even some, because there are a lot of people that listen that are non-Christian.
Right.
And I always find that question, like I have to ponder that for a minute before I answer, because that to me indicates there's a problem there that you need to fix before you start to build this business, you know, which will lead me until my other question. If you don't have a stable relationship or marriage, what are your thoughts about that couple then trying to build a business or brand together? What are some of the pitfalls? Do you see that as a pitfall, or do you see that as something that they can overcome and do together?
I think they absolutely can do it together, but they have to figure out because if they don't figure out what the issues are in the marriage, it's going to transfer over to the business. It's just going to do that. But I was thinking that
it's only going to make the marriage worse. To me.
And it has to be no ego.
It
has to be a no ego zone, because you said it just a few minutes ago. See, I have no problem backing Tonya up and pushing her agenda forward. because her agenda is my agenda.
Come on now, that's
But
real
the
good. Say
thing
that
is,
again.
people would see as, oh, I'm the man. I'm out front. I'm leading. Yeah, I am leading behind her.
Come on.
Because the situation presents itself where I have to support my wife now.
Right.
And there's no ego. So I remember early on in one of the companies we were in about 13, 14 years ago, Tonya was up doing the presentation. She was doing more of that. And I was kind of the one bringing stuff in and loading stuff up. And I was sitting in the back of the room and I'm like, this is not my zone. You know, and what was interesting is there were other men back there that was just as comfortable chilling while their wives were doing the majority of the presenting and the talking and the teaching. And I was like, that's not me. So I joined my wife and now we do things together. However, I can sit on the back row and support her. I can sit on the front row and support her. I can be beside her and support her. And it doesn't diminish me as a man any way at all. That's the no ego. That's the no ego zone. And we've seen where some experiences we've had with couples, the man's ego is a little bruised because he just can't quite bring to the table what his wife brings. And that's a situation. Some conversations need to happen there, because as long as we're on the same agenda, we have the same agenda, then it's really not an issue, you know?
Right. It's if we're doing the work together to build, then it shouldn't matter who's building. It shouldn't matter who is the face. If the end goal for us as a family is we're using this vehicle, because a business is a vehicle, we're using this vehicle to achieve a goal, whatever that goal may be, whether it's generational wealth or I don't know what the goal could be that you have for your business. But if the business is the vehicle, should it matter who's driving the vehicle if the end result is the success of this helps us to achieve our next set of goals?
Right.
I love that. And your thoughts, Dr. Tonya?
Look, same. I was actually thinking about this very thing when you led into the question, and I was hoping Dexter would actually speak to it, because he's always been like that, and he knows who he is. So I hope my brothers are hearing right now. There are a lot of women that we work with, and we working with some, even recently. And one of the things that one lady talked to us about was this, and she was saying that her husband, who's also in ministry, and she's like, but he was having a difficult time with her stepping out and beginning to do and pursue some of the things that she was desiring. And so this is an area that, you know, she was actually struggling in. So this is a topic right here that just probably needs to be talked about more often.
I agree.
I think for women, if I can speak to my sisters right now, I think one of the things that we're going to have to always know and realize is, you know, we have strengths, you know, we have abilities and things that God has called us to do. We should do them. But we should also be really mindful that in all that we do, that we still are edifying and loving and supporting our husbands. I hope I'm making sense right now. Because one of the things, and we can talk about the differences between men and women. One thing that we can say about men is about being respected. You know, they want to be respected. They want to be honored, and they should be. You know, for us as women, we want to be loved. We want to be protected. We want to be taken care of.
Absolutely.
You know, this is what we want, you know? So we have to remember our roles and what it is that each one of us desires, so that we're giving it to each other. Because, and I'm going to tell you, I really love listening to, I love music. I like lyrics. I pay attention to words.
Yes.
And India Ari, she speaks, and I listen to her words. And when I listen to Steady Love, that song, Steady Love, I said, if this is not my marriage right here, honey, that song. And I'm listening. We were on an airplane headed somewhere, I don't know where. And he was sitting there asleep. He was just asleep, had his ear things in, and he's asleep. And I had mine on, and I'm listening. And as I listened to the words, I looked over at him like this, honey, and I started crying. Because I was like, oh my God,
I get it.
And especially when I got to that part in it, and she was saying, she said something to the effect of, because I'm a boss in my world, but when we're together, he just makes me feel like his girl.
Yes.
He's giving me love. So I was like, that is so like us, because I'm a boss in my world. There's things that I'm doing. There's ideas that I have. There are places that I go. I get calls to come to different places, and he's right there. But when he steps in, he's like, that's my wife. I'm her protector. I'm her, all of that. And we're together. And then there's times when it's like, hey, the upgraders go, and we're together. Then there's times when it's like, Dexter Scott, can I get you to come over here and be on this platform? It's like, hey, I'm there with my husband. So it's how we work together. Thank you. Let me tell you what Holy Spirit just said. He just released to me. He said, because I'm God, Abba Father, the Son, and Holy Spirit.
Come on now.
He's 3 in 1.
Yes.
And what do I need? Holy Spirit, come comfort me.
Yes.
Holy Spirit, come teach me.
Yes.
Abba Father, I'm going to go to you. Jesus, my Savior.
Come on.
Help me. But it's still one.
Yes.
So if we can come to a place of understanding that as a married couple, we are one, but we each have different roles. And then they also come together united to do what needs to be done.
Yes.
And that's what's going on. That's who we are. That's how the upgraders operate. That's how we've been doing it now for 22 years. And it had to get better. Because it didn't start off like this. He said to me, he was like, baby, we've been married for 22 years. Do you remember how you threatened to divorce me the first year? I'm like, sure did, didn't I?
I think the first 5 years of our marriage, I was leaving at least once a week.
I got to get up out of here. I ain't signed up for this. But you know what? I said to people a lot of times before too. He said I do to that though. When he said I will, he said he was going to protect that people pleaser. He was going to be here for that woman with low self-esteem. He was going to be right there with her, to help and to love her who didn't have confidence in herself.
Come on.
He said, I will.
Come on.
So when we stood to that altar, we said, I will to each other's everything. The good and the bad.
Come on now, sis.
Now we in process. And one of the things I share with people too, I'm like, what was that? I was just thinking, bring it back. I'm talking and then it went straight out my head. But nonetheless, what I was just saying is you're going to say I do to it all. I'm going to accept all that I don't like so much, but then I also have to take on what it is that I do. And we literally have just come together and it's grown and I'm just grateful.
Listen,
I'm grateful.
That right there just blessed a lot of marriages and a lot of single people. That's real talk. And you're right. We don't have this conversation often enough. There's not enough platforms where people can plug in and see someone and say, okay, I identify with you guys. How did you do this? What's the real? What can I expect? What do I need to prepare for? Am I in this alone? I can't be the only person experiencing what we're experiencing right now. And so, listen, I definitely appreciate you guys sharing that because it's real. I mean, it is absolutely real. It's going to be challenges, but when you are married to the person that God created just for you, like Dexter and Dr. Tonya said, you said I do to everything, the good, the bad, the ugly. And the beautiful thing about that is when you're married to the person that God designed just for you, they nurture you through that. When you were talking about steady love, I was thinking about, we like to watch Frasier, and I love to watch the Cosby Show. I love to watch the Cosby Show, and we love to watch Frasier. And there's an episode in the Cosby Show where Cliff and Claire are sitting in their room on the bed, and he's trying to convince her to go on a vacation. And she's trying to tell him, how we going to do this with all this chaos and madness, this house with all these kids. And they just went to dreaming about all of the places that they wanted to go. Not that they couldn't afford it, but life is busy, right? That they didn't have a chance to go. And I'm thinking as he was naming off these places, dang, Ben took me there. Ben took me there. Ben took me there. Like, we're naming places like, we went to Paris, going to Barcelona, going to, it was just a bunch of different countries. And I'm thinking like, wow, that's the man I married. That's the man that said, I do to me. And all of my faults and all of my insecurities and all of my doubts, he looked at me and said, okay, I want to build something with her. When we were 15 and 17. And over these 32 years that we've been together from age 15 to 17, it wasn't always good, but he built me up. When I'm doing the things that God has called me to do, he built me up. He encouraged me. When the imposter syndrome said, it was funny, Dr. Tonya, imposter syndrome told me I shouldn't even went to Atlanta to get that honorary doctorate. I was sitting there doing the paperwork that needed to be done.
Yeah.
And I had let it sit on my desk for a couple of days. And I was sitting here in my office, and he walked in the door. He said, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm trying to record this and get through it." But I had a whole laundry list of why this shouldn't be happening. And he looked at me and he said, "You gotta be kidding me." And he went to naming off all of the accomplishments that I had.
Come on.
And he said,
"Come on.
That's right.
How are you thinking like that? And you've done some of the stuff." He said, "I forgot that I did it." And
he sound like Dexter.
He was like, "If you don't get in there and say this,
girl,
you better stop it." And he turned around and walked out of the office and went back downstairs. I'm like, okay, thank you, Lord. That's the kind of man that you created for me, Lord.
Amen.
So, sisters, when you have that, and even brothers, because we do the same thing for each other. When you have that, building the brand together, I'm not going to say it won't be ups and downs and trials, but when you're partnered with the right individual, you can do it. You can do it because they will encourage you through to get it done. And it doesn't matter how many businesses you're building. I know Dexter and Dr. Tonya, you guys have multiple streams of income that you're building. Multiple with the two of you, multiple streams of income, and you're building it together as the individual brands that are Dexter's and Tonya's, and then the brands that you have together. It can be done. We just have to be willing to put in the work. And so my last question that I want to ask, because I know we're running out of time, it always gets good, but we're going to have y'all to come back and do a live or something, because this topic right here is good. But the last question that I do want to ask you guys is this. When you're building the brand together as a couple, if you could talk about the importance real quick of that alone time, the Dexter Tonya time, that's got to be a priority. I don't care what we're doing, but how important it is for these couples to make sure that they prioritize time for themselves.
Wow, that's a big one. So one of the businesses that Tonya and I've been in for, it's been a while, a lot of years, has been direct sales. And we've been blessed to, of the last companies, been able to go to one of the top positions in those companies. And she can remember this. It's just amazing. We would go fly all over the place, go to these conferences, and there would literally be people standing in line to talk with her. So, and Tonya, being a relator and loves people, she could spend 10, 15 minutes with one person. And I'm standing beside her, and I'm like, there's like 10 other people in this line. Okay, I gotta kind of intervene here somewhere. And what it does is takes a toll after a while. So one of the things I would tell Tonya is like, babe, okay, all right, the event is almost over. All right, so this is what we're gonna do. Let's zip this way or zip that way or something. And if somebody stops you, then give them just a few minutes, because I mean, let's go. Because Tonya and I we'll go to these events, but we always just spent the time together, whether it would be going to the room and just shutting everything down, ordering room service, watching television. And sometimes I would see Tonya on the phone taking care of somebody else's business. And I'm like, Tonya, you gotta put that down. And I mean, it wasn't easy in the sense of I would be sitting and watching, and I would just cut everything off, and I would look at it as there's somebody else taking my time. That
if you don't sound like
she's giving them my time. And I mean, we had a couple of conversations about it, and I'm like, look, you know, we gotta take care of this stuff, because these people, they're not here. They don't live here, you know. So you can talk to them tomorrow. So, but she's much better than it used to be. But that's critical. Entrepreneurs, you got to cut everybody else out of your marriage. As a matter of fact, and I'll say this and let you talk. A lady made a comment on Facebook one day, and she really made a negative comment about men as it relates to, you know, like, can he do something now because his wife does everything for him? Oh, she said something like cutting the grass. Like, does she have to tell you how to cut the grass too? It was something like that. Wow. And I was like, well, I said, no, not necessarily. It all depends on their relationship. And you can't say that she's doing so much more than him. And then I could tell she was triggered, because she was extremely offended at my logical statement. So I said to her, I kind of made one more comment, and then I just left it alone. And I actually made a post about that. I said, don't let anybody that's triggered because of their poor situations with relationships try to dictate to you what's the proper balance in your house.
Come on, say that.
I could be the one that cooks 75% of the time and my wife doesn't. That does not make our house imbalanced, because it doesn't look like, quote unquote, what a man and woman's relationship needs to be. And it was just like, oh my goodness. So we're much better at it. But I'm telling entrepreneurs, get everybody else out of your marriage and you take care of your spouse. Yes. Find the time. So yeah, I said enough. Yeah,
that was good. I'm enjoying. Balance isn't equality.
Say that.
Balance,
come on.
Yeah, it's not equality. That's not what balance is. Balance is it's how you prioritize. It's what's needed at the moment. So even for the stats that Dexter just gave us, if he's the cook and he does it 75% of the time, but I do something else, 75% or 65% of the time, and that's how it works. So it's wherever the need is. And if you recall me saying earlier, we've gone to our children to say, there's about to be some adjustments. Yes. So we're bringing them even in on that, because it's like right now it's, hey, can I would like to, and it's been, we've been darting around everywhere. Now it's like, okay, we need to reel this in a little bit, for a little while. So same thing, you're going to have to do that. I remembered what I was going to say earlier. I sat here and had to write it down for myself so I don't forget. But it was simply this. It was that no one knows your spouse better than you. So with everything that we're talking about, his mom, his dad, siblings, children, nobody knows your spouse better than you. Nobody knows you better than your spouse.
Yes.
We know each other. So with that right there being said, and even I hope you're hearing that right now. If you've never thought about that, I really hope that it just stops and you inhale that for just a minute. Because and I hope it makes you smile.
Yes.
Okay, because that right there says a lot, and it will alert you and remind you of, this is my best friend for real.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I think about that because as much we'll FaceTime his mom right now, my dad will come by, different things. And it's like, they love us. It's like, this my baby, this my boo. But I'll look at him with his mom and I'm like, but she still don't know him like I do. You know what I'm saying? So I take care of them. And it's what helps me to listen and to love and to honor, all of that. So I pray that lands for somebody some kind of way. That's a whole nother conversation in and of itself. But with the time together,
we're gonna have to do this again.
It's so beautiful. But with that time, even recently, I'm telling you, it's like maybe a few days ago. What's this? It was over a weekend or so. And we were just sitting there. What were we doing? And Dexter, you looked at me and you said, Tonya, I'm really enjoying this right now. Oh God, we were sitting there on the couch and you said, I think it was a Sunday. It was a Sunday. And we were just sitting there, TV was on. We really weren't doing anything, had phones in our hands and so forth. But we were just kind of there together. And he said, I'm really enjoying this. Yeah. And I received it because I realized it's time.
Yes.
Something that you really can't get back.
You cannot.
But it's valuable. There's something recently, Dexter, I believe you even said it to me. When you asked a question or you saw something where the question was asked if you would, if somebody offered you $5 million.
Yeah, it was something I saw on Instagram. I think a guy was talking to another gentleman and he said, would you take $10 million tomorrow? No, he said, would you take $10 million right now if you knew that tomorrow you were going to die?
And I want to add it this way. I'm gonna say it. No, I want you to finish it out though. Right. But I really wanted you to hear it this way. Would you take $10 million today if that $10 million your life would be gone tomorrow? Now, if you don't take it, your life is not gonna be gone. But you can get $10 million right now today. Would it be worth your life tomorrow? And the answer was no. And then he says,
so then after the guy said no, he said, so then what you're saying is that every single breath you take is much more valuable than $10 million.
Wow, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it was like,
wow.
Whoa,
time.
It's time.
Yes,
time.
It's time. I lost my mother 2 years ago on our anniversary.
Wow.
On our anniversary 2 years ago. I won't ever see my mom on this side again. Outside of a dream or something, but that time I value. If there's anything I could have done differently in that last year of life, I would, So I just pray, as we share this, that it really helps everyone to think just a little bit, just as to how important it is, or if your husband or your wife asks for it, as to how valuable it is.
Yes.
More valuable than the vacation, more valuable than buying the new house. Just to take a minute to look at each other. Just to take a minute to say, I love you.
Yes.
Just to take a minute to compliment one another.
Yes.
Those are the types of things right there that really matters and makes a difference. And you want to talk about fueling, a marriage and that relationship takes it to a whole nother level.
Whole nother level. That's beautiful. And time is the key. Time is the key. The more mature being, and again, I'm gonna say it like that. The more mature we get, the more we understand the value of time.
Amen.
Because we can't recreate it. We can't get it back. Every moment is precious and we don't know when our time is up. And to maximize the time that we have together. Yes, we build and do the things that we need to do to accomplish the goals that we want to accomplish in life. But as you said, we've learned the value of time and our time together as a couple, our time. If someone asks me today what my definition of success is, it's my time, owning my time, spending that time in the evening in my garden with my grandkids, picking strawberries because we planted strawberries together, owning my time,
Come
because
on, owning your time.
when my husband comes in, because my husband has a trucking company, when he comes in, he called me and said, "Hey, babe, we're going to go to lunch." Okay, I control my schedule. Let me move some things where we're going to go to lunch, because we value that time.
Come on.
Having that time together. There were some hard lessons we learned to get to the place where we definitely understand what you guys are talking about, where we put all of the stuff before us, and then it had a negative impact on us.
Yes.
It does you no good. As the scripture said, it does you no good, really, to gain the whole world, to gain all of the things you want, and to lose your soul. Well, it does you no good to gain all of the financial debt freedom, financial security that you want. And the initial plan was to build it so that you can enjoy your spouse, but then you lose your spouse because of the way that you built it. You guys grow apart. So I thank you guys so much for sharing that importance of time and how we value each other. And ladies, put your phone down. Gentlemen, put your phone down. Phones are not allowed at the Monley table. I don't care what table we sitting at when we eating. The phones are not allowed, because that's the time we're sitting together. You guys have been amazing today. Thank you so much for being such great guests. But before we do go, please leave with the LaQuita's Toolbox audience how they can connect with you. And if you have any upcoming events and things that they can tap into, let them know how they can connect with you.
Wow. So you can find us on all of our social media handles. Dexter L. Scott, Facebook, Instagram. Tonya is Tonya Joyner Scott on Facebook. On Instagram, it's Tonya J. Is it Tonya J?
Tonya J. Scott.
Tonya J. Scott. And you can find our YouTube channel. It's the youtube.com/The Upgraders. We have an inner circle that's absolutely amazing. It's the upgradersinnercircle.com. We have some phenomenal people in there. We're doing some great things. And Tonya, you've got Shine 2 coming up.
I do have Shine 2 coming up. Camp, yeah. Yes, I do. Conversation Camp is something that I do. I bring women together. We go to a lakefront home right now, I'm going to be doing some traveling too, but right now I'm in North Carolina at Lake Norman. My next one is going to be the end of October, that last weekend in October. We just finished one. It is absolutely amazing. And I'm going to tell y'all right now, I honestly, if I were to sit here to try to describe it, it's really difficult to do. Yeah. And women are saying that, and they're already like, when is the next one? So it's the end of October. I bring about 25 women together in an intimate setting, and Holy Spirit meets us there. So I want you to think about it from the place of, where I have the speakers and each one gets up and whatever it is that the Lord would have them to release, but it's a safe place. Things that actually come out, the things that are discussed and talked about, the questions that you can ask. And I want you to think about it like this. It's one thing to go to a conference and that person takes the platform and it is absolutely amazing. But how about being able to be with them in the same room when it's over? You can walk up to them and ask a question. Yeah. How about, being able to get clarification? How about having a sister there looking at you and it's like, wow, hey, sis, I love you. And you feel that love throughout the room. That's just a little bit. That's Conversation Camp. Start following me, y'all. I'm serious. Just really, okay? Just seriously. It's a whole nother level, and it's really hard to describe. Shine is an anthology that I've done. The last one, I had 19 women that came together with me to write the book. You can get it on Amazon. The stories are in there, are amazing. They're all shining. So I want to talk to you. I'm about to do volume 2. Do you have a story to tell? Do you have anything that you want to share with the world? My tagline is exposure brings closure. Anything that remains hidden, it will grow. The enemy will want to tell you something. He will want to tell you about yourself. He'll want you to think this of yourself, and he'll want to just have this conversation, but you not say anything at all. As long as it remains hidden, he has control. But when you expose that thing, the control is gone. Come on, somebody.
Come on now. Yes.
So with that being said, I want you to shine. You're going to be an author. You're going to be in a documentary. You're going to grace the cover of a magazine out of London as well. Those are just some of the things that's going to come together in the package for the next group of ladies who helps me write Shine Volume 2. I want you to come share your story with me. So look out for that, because it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And also I'm going to have a new journal coming out soon. It's a journal. It's an affirmation, a book of affirmation. It's entitled "She Decided to Love Herself." Okay. You heard me say a little bit about getting out your way. See, I had to get out of mine. You heard me say earlier too about low self-esteem, the lack of confidence, the people pleasing, all of that. These are things I had to be delivered from. I've been in my way for a long time, but Tonya Scott has finally learned how to love herself. I want you to know how to love yourself too. So just stay tuned for that. Just follow me, and as things come out, you'll be able to hear more about it.
That's awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, y'all better plug in. I know you might be saying, okay, I didn't get all that. That's all right. Check the show notes. It's a podcast. Check the show notes. I guarantee you, I will have the necessary links to connect with them in the show notes. And again, hit that replay. It's a podcast. I know it was a lot of great gems released today, and you might need to listen to this more than once so that you can make sure that you're properly implementing these tools in your handy dandy toolbox. Guys, you guys have been wonderful on today. Thank you so much again for being guests. Thank you to the listeners for tuning in. Remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Download LaQuita's Toolbox on your favorite podcast listening platform. And I do want to hear from you. Leave us a comment and let me know what you like. And if you don't like anything, I especially want to hear from you. Let me know what you think I can do to improve and bring you tools that can help you change and grow in your personal growth and development. Until next time, I'm your host, LaQuita Monley. You guys be blessed and have an amazing rest of your day. Take care.